published 2031 est, the 21st of November 2017, updated 11/28 est, the 22nd of November 2017. Britain plunged deeper into the red last month as the country was forced to pay £8 million an hour servicing the mammoth national debt. Bleak figures published on the eve of the budget showed the government borrowed another £8 billion in October, £500 million more than in the same month last year, as it continued to spend more than it receives in tax. The deterioration in the public finances came as debt interest payments jumped by 25% to £6 billion in October alone, or around £8 million an hour. The national debt stands at almost £2 trillion as figures show. Government borrowing hit £8 billion in October alone as payments to service the UK's debt hit £6 billion. Spiralling cost of servicing the national debt, which now stands at a record £1.79 trillion, having tripled since the turn of the century, is leaching much-needed resources away from Britain's creaking public services. The figures, from the Office for National Statistics, pile pressure on Philip Hammond to get a grip on the nation's finances in the budget today. The deficit has fallen sharply under the Tories, from a record £152.5 billion in 200910 under Labour to £45.7 billion last year. But the Chancellor is struggling to return Britain to the black by the middle of the next decade, leaving Britain facing the longest period of deficits since Napoleonic times. He is facing a barrage of demands for extra cash to increase funding for the NHS, give public sector workers a pay rise, ease the burden on students and kickstart house building. Howard Archer, chief economic advisor to the Ernst Young Item Club, said Mr. Hammond is getting squeezed on both sides amid conflicting pressures to balance the books and ditch austerity. Philip Hammond is expected to reiterate government pledges to eliminate the deficit by the mid-2020s, after which the debt can be reduced. The budget is not going to be easy for the Chancellor, he said. Despite the deterioration in the public finances last month, borrowing so far this year has totaled £38.5 billion, some £4.1 billion less than in the same period last year. The Office for Budget Responsibility, the Treasury watchdog, is today expected to cut its borrowing forecasts for this year as a whole. But downgrades to the outlook for the economic growth are likely to mean more borrowing in later years, raising fresh questions over when Britain will finally return to the black. Paul Hollingsworth, UK economist at Capital Economics, said despite deteriorating in October, the general trend in the public finances this year has still been an improving one. Nonetheless, the expected downward revisions to economic forecasts will probably mean that the Chancellor has no room for significant budget giveaways.